Okie dokie. So we have the wonderful Sharon Kafoa again. Introduce yourself again, Sharon, for us, because some people won't have even got a chance to watch your presentation. So let us know who you are and then we'll start the questions.
Oh, thanks, beautiful. Hello, everybody. My name is Sharon Kafoa. I'm an integrative nutrition health coach, and my area of specialty is hormones and natural anti-aging.
And we've just been having a quick chat before we started recording, and I was saying to Sharon there'd been a question about stress, and she said, oh, it's one of my favorite subjects, which it is mine as well. So I will kick off with that question that we've had. So someone has said they are just super stressed at the moment with all sorts going on in their life. What are your top tips for reducing stress?
Well, that's a great question. But first of all, well done you for knowing where your stress levels are, knowing that you're stressed. That's really the first thing, because oftentimes we can kind of have the blinkers on. And I know myself, when I started all of this process way back, it was kind of like, I'll be okay. I'll just get through this week and I'll get to the weekend and I can relax. And then it actually came down to, I'll just get to the end of the day and I'll get home and I'll be okay. And because I was so far in what I call the pit of woe, I didn't know per se that I was stressed. I was just dealing with what was going on. So well done you for being aware of that. A lot of times when we identify where our stress is, so I used to care for my elderly dad. He was 87 when he came to live with us very unexpectedly, and I had to give up my business as a cake decorator and become his full-time carer. A visit to the GPs could mean 8 hours in emergency at one of the hospitals here. So you can imagine the stress. And even every morning you'd sort of wake up and wonder if he was still alive or whether he'd passed away in the middle of the night. Because I was aware of that stress, and that's kind of where my stress was coming from, I then did things to counter that. So for me, that was a boxing class, because there's something really therapeutic about punching something, and somebody said to me, oh, do you have his picture on the bag? No, I just need to. Whatever it is for you that's going to shift you out of that stressed mental and physical state that feeds you is what you need to do. Stress is one of those things. So I always, when I talk to my clients, talk about a herd of zebras or zebras, depending on which way you fall. And if you think about,
do you fall?
Sorry?
Zebra, how do you pronounce it usually?
Zebra.
Me too.
Okay, cool. So imagine a herd of zebras, and they're just chewing the grass on the savannah, and they're just hanging out, and they're all really cool and they're super relaxed and whatever else. And suddenly a cheetah comes along, and so the herd immediately goes into a highly stressed state. So they run. You've heard of fight or flight. So their cortisol levels that previously were like this have just gone boom up here because they're wanting to get away. Cheetah grabs Bob. Sad for Bob, but Bob's gone. The herd then goes, danger's over. Let's go back to eating grass. So their stress levels come back to, yes, they're still on alert, but their stress levels have come down again. As humans, we don't do that. We might have a stressful event, but then we worry at it, like pulling threads, and we examine it and we, take it apart and we discuss it with everybody and we focus on it and we keep ourselves in a high level of stress. So think zebra. What can you do? Because when they're running, their digestion shuts down. So they're not able to absorb their food or the nutrients. And this is what happens to us. So you can become very depleted. like I said, my favorite subject, I could go on and on about it. It affects your reproductive system, because when you're highly stressed all the time, you're not in a position where your body wants to start thinking about having a baby or doing its normal reproductive things. So that's impacted. Every system in your body pretty much is impacted when you're constantly stressed. So taking yourself out of that, whether it's yoga, boxing, swimming, going for a walk around the block, sitting in the garden, in the sun, reading a book, deep breathing, music, dancing, catching up with girlfriends. Whatever you can fit, even if it's only 5 minutes, that's what you need to do.
And I think, music is such an underrated, like music, because not everybody does like music. But if you play a song that you really love, high volume, it's really good. That kinesthetic, the vibration of the music really puts you into a good vibe. And
totally.
How long is a song? 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and it's done. So,
yeah, even if it's, a favorite from way back when.
Exactly.
One that off by heart. So for me, the whole of Elton John's Too Low for Zero album, I know word for word, because it takes me back to a happy place.
Yeah.
So I just put headphones on, shut the door, volume up, and I'll boogie round. And yeah, definitely music is fabulous if that's your thing.
Yeah, because I think that is really important as well. There are loads of ways to deal with stress, and we can list off a load of things. And this is very similar with people's eating and stuff.
Yes.
That I believe it very much depends on you as a person. So if you come as a client and say, I'm really stressed, and I say to you, okay, listen to music, do eat this way, blah, 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 and you really don't like music, and say, for instance, I hate cheese. If someone said to me, you have to eat cheese, which back in the day was what people were saying, cottage cheese.
Oh, yuck.
It wouldn't work for me. So I think that is the massive thing that you have to do. What works for me? What do I feel good with? And then use that. Don't just take someone's advice who has completely the different enjoyment out of other things.
Well, as I said, I found at that time doing this boxing class was just what I needed. I could feel the stress melt off me. So whatever that is for you, because I could say to you, go and do a boxing class, you're going to go, oh no. Is that a swim or a walk or going for a jog? As long as you're not going to the extreme of whatever, especially if it's exercise, as long as you're not going to the extreme of that exercise, because that in itself will just add more stress onto the body. Whatever it is, if you can feel your body, take a deep breath and go, okay, that's what it is you need to do.
Yeah, perfect. So next question, because it leads quite nicely into this. If you have had a death in the family or sickness in the family, and you're suffering with grief or, stress from a divorce or things like this, can that bring on perimenopause or menopause? Or does your body just go along and does what it does in its own time frame?
Great question. I will preface this by saying that everybody is bio-individual. And so I'm going to answer this in a very general way, because I can't say definitively one way or the other. So if I take my story, for example, so if you didn't hear it, essentially, I had a number of autoimmune diseases. We moved. I had my son, my beautiful boy, who was miraculous. A lot of things happened. And a lot of what happened to me was because of high levels of continuous stress. When my son was 10 months old, my mum died, and I pretty much went straight into menopause. There wasn't much in the way of Peri or anything. It was just, oh my God, pause. Now, looking back, my experience was at the extreme end of what can happen. So yes, if you've been under a lot of stress for a while, for let's say 2, 3, 4, 5 years. If to this point you haven't done much in the way of trying to nourish yourself, because yes, you can have stress, but if you can nourish yourself, you can counter that stress to a degree. So if that inflammation running around your body is high, then it is quite possible, yes, to bring on an early menopause. High levels of oxidative stress, so high levels of inflammation, there are studies that show that it is involved with menopause, especially early onset menopause. And there are other reasons for early onset menopause as well. So it is possible, yes.
Because, there are, these super speakers and famous people, and, they appear like everything is going well for them in their life. But once you get to know what their lifestyle is like, they do have these stress relieving things, whether it's the exercise, the food. A lot of them have actual people who make food for them because they understand and have the money to pay for someone to give them on a plate exactly what they need.
Yeah.
And although a lot of people watching this won't be, in the super millions of earnings, I think to realize, okay, we are just as important as those people. And so to make our lives as much like that, so we're taking care of what we eat and taking care of what we do in the day, and almost put ourselves on a pedestal so that we treat ourselves like one of these stars.
Absolutely. And I think when we look at these people, we forget that they've probably got a housekeeper.
Yes.
They've probably got their own personal trainer. As you say, they've probably got their own chef. They've got somebody doing all of their personal media, whatever else. They're not doing it all themselves, which is what we tend to do.
Yes.
We do everything. I do everything here. I look after my 2 boys and the house, and there's the cat, and we've got a big place now. It's a double story, and I walk around and I think, oh my God, the housework. And then I see the washing and I think, oh my God, the washing. And I open the fridge and there's nothing in the fridge. So I've got to go shopping, and then I've got to try and figure out what dinner's doing. And it's like, oh my God, did I post on social media today? Did I do this? Did I do this? I've got my clients. They don't have that, but we forget. So it's bringing it back to what can you do for you, whether that's taking a moment out to cook yourself a nourishing, or even, do some meal prep, get some lovely nourishing food in the fridge that you can grab and go. When you do, take a moment to sit and breathe. Because if you're in agitated, stressed state, it doesn't really matter what you eat. You're not really going to be absorbing the nutrients that you need. And your adrenal glands love and need vitamin C. They love your body wants the B vitamins. Vitamin D is essential. All of these things, because when you're stressed, your body is stripping everything because it just wants to keep you going, to keep you safe.
And, when you're going through grief, you can go from one extreme to the other with sleep and things. Some people like to just shut off from the world and sleep and don't want to face anything else. I would be that person. And other people just are on and can't sleep at all. So I think, like you say, it's so important to nourish yourself, to almost make your body understand everything is normal. You're just going through this stress. We're not changing anything. We're still eating. We're still breathing, all that kind of stuff, so that you can try and teach your body, we can get through this.
So I had an interesting difference between when my mum died, and my mum was my rock. We were best friends. She was everything, and all she wanted was to be a grandmother. And she died when my son was 10 months old. And you can see it still, because of so much that was going on then, I didn't, there's no right or wrong way of grieving, only what's right and wrong for you. So for me, I didn't grieve. I didn't know how to. And so I put on this very strong face because I had to, I had my son and my husband was changing careers and we just moved down here to Victoria. And there was and I had to be the person that held it all together. So behind that, I was the one, sobbing in the shower for hours. Can't imagine what our water bill would have been like. But this was it. And so I was very erratic. When my father passed away 2 years ago, I was actually with him when he passed. My experience of grief then was very, very different. I probably had a better grasp of managing. And I learnt that for me, acknowledging that grief when it hit me, sitting with it, feeling it, and then letting it go worked really well. And not trying to avoid it, not trying to pretend it wasn't there, not trying to hide from it, not focusing intently on it, but just kind of, okay, I need to take a moment and just, and sob, cry, whatever I needed to do. I found yoga helped a lot, actually, feeling that energy move out of me. So yeah, grief is a very, very individual thing. But if you can have an awareness in the moments when you have that kind of clarity, do whatever you can to nourish yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually, whichever way.
Perfect. And I think it's similar in a way, to these perimenopause and menopause symptoms, in that you don't really know what's going to happen until it happens. And it's a little bit like, when you do a CPR course or something like that, and the instructor will usually say, I'm going to teach you all this, but you haven't got a clue how you're going to react when it actually happens. And I think sometimes just allowing yourself to react however you react, like you say, and not run away from it, allow yourself to feel the feelings.
I had a conversation actually with a lady on Saturday morning, and she wanted to talk to me because she felt that, she was at that age where she thought she'd be heading into perimenopause soon, but she didn't know anything about it. And she wanted to know everything about it. And I kind of said, well, I can tell you the most likely symptoms. I have no idea whether you will have any of these, if any at all. Yeah. There's no way of knowing.
Exactly. And also, there's no way of knowing how you'll react to them. There's only advice on how to react to them, and understanding that our reactions are our choice. The
Yes.
don't just happen. We have a choice. And if we think our mind is strong enough and we can get over this, it's like, whether you choose to think negatively or positively about something. And, sometimes, I don't know, something will happen in the morning and it can either set you off for the whole day and you feel like you have a really crappy day, the car breaks down, you're stuck in traffic, who knows, all those kind of things. Or you can just go, oh, I spilled my coffee this morning, it's not going to affect the rest of my day, and you have a great day. And I think that is a massive understanding that you can actually control how your thought patterns go through the day, as to whether to go down the negative or go down the positive is partly the reason why I started my hypnotherapy business, because I thought it was so amazing how powerful we are if we choose the right way.
Oh, absolutely. And, I have this thing with my husband. If we're going to a shopping centre, I will drive because he cannot cope with the car park. I go into the car park knowing that it's going to be rubbish, that people generally can't drive, and that it's just going to be a nightmare. And so I go in with this in mind, and I'm relaxed and I'm calm, and I know that I go in thinking I'm going to find the perfect car park for me, and people are going to be silly and do this, that, and the other, and that's all okay. Same thing with the menopause, as I said to this lady. It is basically, and we discussed this on Friday, it's your second puberty. It's kind of, yes, it's like her evil older sister, but, you know, I don't know what kind of, I don't even remember what my puberty was like, but, you know, it's a natural thing that women go through. And this is what we need to embrace. We need to embrace this part of our womanness, that this is what we do, and to approach it with ease and grace rather than fear and worry. Yes, there's a lot of unknown, perhaps. You know, you might have hot sweats, you might not. You might have migraines, you might not. You might just feel a bit every now and then. Who's to say? But if you go in with the attitude that it's going to be awful, that I'm frightened, it's going to be horrible, then you're elevating your stress levels. And that is more likely to put you into a space where you may notice these things a lot more than you might otherwise. So approaching it with ease and grace, with curiosity, with awareness, and with acceptance, and going with the flow of what is a perfectly natural thing.
Yeah. And I think as well, what I have noticed, doing a bit of research about the whole perimenopause, menopause, following a few Instagram accounts, Facebook pages on the lead up to the summit, what I noticed was the humor, you know. And I think at this age, a lot of the humor in life goes because there is so much stress going on, and, you know, not enough time just to sit back and enjoy. And I think trying to keep the humor going and being able to go, oh my God, I'm so hot and sweaty, whatever it may be, it almost lifts that that negative feeling about whatever you have as a symptom. And that's what I just noticed, you know, looking at all these accounts. The ones that were moaning and groaning about the symptoms, I was like, oh, that's not going to make anyone feel better. But the lighter ones that, yes, they admit I'm going through a hard time, but make light of it so that they can actually be more open about it, I thought was a really good way to kind of bring that into your life and think, okay, I can deal with this, I'll be open about it, and I'll be able to laugh about it as well.
Very good point. And I think too, a lot of where some of this sort of fear and woe is me has come a lot from media, and the fact that we don't tend to talk about it. And men too, if I might bring them into the equation, they don't help, because they'll kind of go, oh, you know, oh, my wife or my girlfriend, she's going through that time, and it's just, oh, it's like, well, dude, man up. You know, recognize, like I said, it's a part of being a woman. It's part of your relationship. You can either make it better or you can add to the stress.
Yeah.
And my husband, jokingly, he felt it was jokingly anyway, said to me ages ago, he said, oh, I can understand why men leave their wives at this age. He was lucky he lived through that comment, let me just admit that. But I actually said to him, I said, honey, I think you might find that it's actually the woman who's leaving the man, because she's kind of, you get this incredible awareness, because suddenly you're not, and there can be some grieving that goes along with leaving your productive years behind. But there's also a huge sense of empowerment that comes with it, because that's no longer how you're defined as a mother or a child bearer or whatever. And you can get an incredible sense of clarity about who you are and what it is you, as a person, as a woman, actually want. And sometimes what you don't want is the guy you've been with for the last however long.
Yeah.
So I did point that out to him as well.
It was probably like, rewind.
It was like, oh, okay, yep, good. You know, but this is, I think if we come back to, and again, our conversation was what I wish I'd known before I went through, was I wish I'd had that sense of, this is a transition from this me to this new me. And when, as women, we go through so many transitions through our lives. This is almost the final one before, you know, we end our lives. But this transition is to be moved through with, as I said, curiosity, awareness, with flow, with ease, with being open to what my body's doing and learning from it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, you know, when I work with my clients, there's a lot we can go through. You know, we look at stress, we look at sleep, food, obviously, moving, self-care, mindset is a big one, because there is a lot you can do to give yourself, I suppose, the best transition.
Yes, definitely. And I think that is a good point to finish up on, because I think it's looking at all those things that you can do to help yourself and actually taking action with them, you know, because so many of us say, oh yes, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and in our minds we're doing it, but we're not actually doing it.
Well, why do we do what we do when we know what we know? And this is where people like you and I come in, and all of the amazing women that you had on the summit, you know, because we often know what it is we should be doing, but sometimes it's very hard to do it on our own when we're trying to juggle everything else. So having that person work with you is often, and it doesn't have to be for a huge amount of time, but is often just what you need to get you over the line.
Exactly. And one thing I'll say about that is, because there are a big portion of people who are like, I should be able to do this by myself. Why should I be paying, you know, it's a bit indulgent to be paying someone to tell me to have a bit of self-care or self-love, you know, when really look at the time that you haven't been doing that, and the struggle with the stress, the struggle with nutrition, struggle with anything, you know, all of the above, and look at the time that you have, I suppose, wasted, and the money that you've thrown down the bin with a million bars of chocolate, cake, you know, obviously it's eating, alcohol if you're into alcohol, and, you know, home gym equipment that you don't use.
Oh yeah.
So many people who buy Pilates equipment and then it's just there in their garage. All those kind of things. Tot up that expense to you, and then think, okay, if I paid for a coach or whoever it may be, they will be the person who will keep me accountable to these things. And so it will actually be value rather than spending all your money on the outlay of all the other stuff.
One of the things I've found with my clients is oftentimes, especially the first few sessions, I am the first person that they've spoken to about so many things that they haven't been able to talk to their partners about, their girlfriends, their mothers, their aunts, their whatever it is, you know, the important people in your life. The things that run through their head about, oh, look, I know I should be doing this, but I can't. I just need, you know, being able to, as you would find with your clients, to talk about this often helps them to see the path, because at the minute they've got so much going on, you know, so many tabs open, that yes, they've got the information, but what they need is somebody like us to actually provide that bridge between the information and the transformation that they're seeking. Because whilst they're sitting over here, you know, they can't see their way through.
Totally. Because we've all been there, you know. So, I don't know, you know, when you get a form that you have to fill in and it's a really detailed one, and you open it up, you scan through what you've got to fill in, and then you close it because you've got no time to do it right now, you haven't got the headspace. It's that kind of a thing. Whereas if you could hand that over and someone just goes, oh, it's okay, all you need for this bit is this, or you need is this, you will find it's so easy to fill out that form and it'll be done, and you'll be like,
yeah, it's about helping you find that clarity.
Totally. Well, thank you so much, Sharon. I know you've been really busy today, so I won't keep you too much longer. We'll post this into the Facebook group. Oh, and I just wanted to say as well that someone had left a really lovely message for you on YouTube after watching your presentation.
Oh,
It looked like she was a trainer or something like that, and she just said such valuable information. And it's so good that we're talking about this kind of thing. Go on and have a look, because it was lovely.
Oh, I will. Thank you. And I loved. Thank you for putting this summit together. I hope everybody's got as much value out of it as I have. I've just loved it all.
We've had really good comments and emails about it. It was really lovely to see people.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you, gorgeous.
We'll catch up with you very soon. Have a lovely, I'm saying weekend, but we're on the week now. Have a lovely week, and we will speak to you soon.
Look forward to it.
Bye.